What if a creature of fire and smoke could slip among us, unseen, with the power to twist our lives in a heartbeat? In Islamic tales, the Ifrit is a terrifying spiritor, mighty jinn that prowls deserts, ancient ruins, and shadowed corners of the earth. From the sun-baked dunes of Arabia to the weathered tombs of Egypt, its name is whispered with dread, a word heavy with fear and wonder. Why does the Ifrit haunt the hearts of so many in the Muslim world? Let's dive into its story, tracing its path through holy texts, age-old legends, and the beliefs that keep its fiery legend burning, revealing a creature that serves God yet dares to rebel, a spark of the divine wrapped in danger. What if a hidden world pulsed with spirits as unpredictable as we are, capable of mercy or malice on a whim? In the 9th century, beneath the flickering oil lamps of Baghdad's House of Wisdom, a scribe scratched a tale that chilled his listeners. A merchant, lost in the empty quarter's vast, scorching sands, staggered through dunes that erased his tracks. As night fell, a towering figure of smoke and flame rose from the earth, its eyes blazing like molten embers, casting a glow that danced across the endless desert. "I am an Ifrit of the jinn," it roared, its voice a crackle of burning wood, before dissolving in a howling sandstorm that buried the merchant's caravan under a sea of shifting sand. This wasn't just a yarn spun for thrills, it captured a deep-rooted belief in the Ifrit, a creature of mystery and might woven into the soul of Islamic faith. Mentioned in the Qur'an, echoed in sacred teachings, and feared in tales told by firelight, the Ifrit's name carries a shiver of awe, even in 2025. Across centuries, from the bustling markets of medieval Damascus to the quiet villages of modern Yemen, the Ifrit has loomed as a symbol of the unseen, a reminder that beyond our world lies a realm of spirits we cannot control. This belief stretches back to the dawn of Islam, when desert tribes gathered under starry skies, sharing stories of jinn who could bless or curse. The Ifrit, a powerful kind of jinn, stood out for its fiery nature and rebel spirit. In early Muslim communities, it was blamed for sudden storms that wrecked caravans or strange illnesses that baffled healers. Bedouin travelers spoke of glowing figures in the desert, their whispers luring wanderers to doom. In cities like Basra, merchants guarded their wares with prayers, fearing an Ifrit's envy might spark a fire. These tales weren't just superstition, they shaped a worldview where the unseen, called al-ghaib, held sway over life's twists and turns. The Ifrit's power to act freely, choosing good or evil like humans, made it a mirror of our own struggles, hopes, fears, and temptations. To understand why it remains so feared, we'll journey through its origins in sacred texts, uncover its deeds in folklore, and explore how its shadow still falls across the Muslim world. From ancient sands to modern cities, the Ifrit first blazes into view in the Qur'an, Islam's holy book, within a gripping tale of Prophet Solomon's court, Surah An-Naml 27:39. Solomon, a wise king gifted with command over spirits, demands the Queen of Sheba's throne be brought to him faster than a blink. An Ifrit, a fierce kind of jinn, strides forward, its presence like a spark in the desert night, and boasts, "I can fetch it before you even stand, and I'm strong and trustworthy." Yet Solomon turns to another, a figure steeped in sacred knowledge, revealing that Ifrits, for all their might, can't always be trusted. The word Ifrit springs from Arabic roots meaning rebellious or strong, a clue to its untamed spirit. The Quran reveals jinn, including Ifrits, are crafted from smokeless fire, Surah Ar-Rahman 55:15. Unlike humans molded from clay or angels woven from light. Like us, jinn can choose between good and evil, faith or defiance, and this freedom makes Ifrits terrifying. You never know if they'll lend a hand or unleash havoc. In the early days of Islam, when desert tribes huddled under starry skies, tales of Ifrits raced through camps like wildfire. Their fiery forms were blamed for sudden sandstorms that swallowed caravans, or for luring travelers off paths into endless dunes. In 7th century Medina, mothers warned children of Ifrits hiding in shadows, ready to snatch the disobedient. From the crowded souks of Baghdad, where merchants guarded wares with whispered prayers, to the quiet hamlets of Yemen, where elders spoke of glowing figures in the hills, the Ifrit became a haunting symbol of the unseen world, al-ghaib. This realm, pulsing with angels, jinn, and divine mysteries, reminded believers that forces beyond human control shaped their fates. The Ifrit's dual nature, servant of God yet rebel at heart, mirrored human struggles. Its fiery essence, a spark of both creation and chaos, feared as a force that could bless or burn. Back in the early days of Islam, scholars wrote about Ifrits to explain their place in the world. A famous 9th century writer, Al-Jahiz, said Ifrits were some of the strongest jinn, often causing trouble. He described them as spirits of fire and smoke, able to change shape and live in lonely places like deserts or underground. Another scholar, Zakaria al-Qazwini, wrote in the 13th century that Ifrits lived in a shadowy underworld, their fiery bodies glowing like embers. But Islamic teachings say Ifrits aren't always evil, they're part of God's creation and can follow his rules. For example, in one story about Prophet Job, the devilish jinn Iblis sends Ifrits to test Job with storms and fire, but only because God allows it. This mix of being God's servant and a possible troublemaker makes Ifrits hard to predict. Old Islamic stories, called hadiths, make Ifrits even scarier. In one story, an Ifrit tries to mess up Prophet Muhammad's prayers, appearing as a fiery figure until an angel teaches Muhammad a special prayer to stop it. Another tale from Muhammad's night journey says an Ifrit attacked him with a flaming torch, but God protected him. These stories spread widely, showing Ifrits as dangerous but beatable with faith. Some scholars, like Shibli in the 14th century, even called Ifrits devils, linking them to Iblis, the jinn who refused to obey God by bowing to Adam. Surah Al-Baqarah 2:34. This connection makes Ifrits seem like rebels against God's order, their fiery nature matching their bold attitude. The Ifrit's roots go back before Islam to ancient Arabian and nearby cultures. In old Arabia, people believed in desert spirits tied to wind and fire, and Ifrits probably came from these ideas, like the creepy ghoul that tricked travelers. In ancient Mesopotamia, demons like Lamashtu, who used fire and chaos, might have shaped Ifrit stories as traders shared ideas across regions. When Islam began in the 7th century, it took these old beliefs and gave them a new spin, making jinn, including Ifrits, part of God's world. A 10th century book by Ibn al-Nadim listed Ifrits in secret texts, connecting them to older spirits from Persian and Babylonian myths. This mix of old and new made Ifrits even more mysterious. In the shadowed heart of medieval Islamic tales, Ifrits rose as terrifying figures, their fiery forms haunting the dreams of storytellers and listeners alike. In 1001 Nights, a beloved collection of Arab stories, Ifrits appear as towering, winged creatures of smoke and flame, lurking in crumbling ruins, ancient graves, or the endless desert's moonlit sands. In one tale, the porter and the young girls, an Ifrit, driven by burning jealousy, kidnaps a woman from her lover, its wings casting shadows that chill the night. In The Fisherman and the Jinn, an Ifrit, trapped for centuries in a brass bottle, roars with rage when freed, vowing to slay the fisherman who releases it, only to be outwitted by the man's clever words. Ifrits are masters of disguise, shifting into seductive humans, snarling beasts, or howling storms that tear through villages. Normal weapon swords or spears are useless against them, snapping like twigs against their fiery essence. Storytellers spoke of heroes using sacred prayers from the Qur'an, like Surah Al-Falaq, or cunning tricks to defeat them, as magic alone could bind their power. In a 12th century tale from Baghdad, a merchant traps an Ifrit in a circle of salt, chanting holy verses to banish it back to the desert. Ifrits live in their own shadowy tribes, with kings, warriors, and families, mirroring human societies, yet dwelling in a realm beyond sight. Some stories tell of Ifrits marrying humans, their unions birthing strange, half-human children with eyes that glow like embers, making them feel unnervingly close to our world. In medieval Damascus, mothers warned of Ifrits lurking in abandoned homes, ready to snatch disobedient kids, while Persian poets described Ifrits as lovers whose fiery passion could warm or destroy. This eerie blend of human-like lives and supernatural power made Ifrits all the more spooky, their presence a reminder that the unseen world could spill into ours, bringing chaos or wonder in a single, fiery breath. Different places in the Muslim world see Ifrits differently, but they're always scary. In Egypt, people think Ifrits might be the spirits of dead people, hanging around old tombs or places where someone was killed unfairly, waiting for Judgment Day. In Morocco, Stories say Ifrits haunt spots where family feuds happened, their fire showing up to punish the guilty. In Syria and India, Ifrits are like ghosts, sneaking into people's lives to cause trouble. In Java, Indonesia, Muslims believe Ifrits live in sacred ruins, guarding old secrets. In Sudan, special ceremonies called Zar use music to chase Ifrits out of people who act strange or get sick. In Egypt, some say Ifrits can control your arms or legs, making you do bad things like stealing or lying. These beliefs lead to rituals where people read the Qur'an or wear special charms to keep Ifrits away. Ifrits are extra scary because they're tied to fire. They can create sandstorms, whirlwinds, or even fires out of nowhere. Desert travelers in old times blamed sudden dust storms on Ifrits, feeling a weird heat in the air. Their smokeless fire nature, mentioned in the Qur'an, makes them seem both holy and dangerous. Some stories link Ifrits to Iblis, saying they carry his throne or fight good jinn, like the Jann, who follow God. In a 12th century Persian poem, an Ifrit tests a hero with fire, showing how it can mess with your mind and heart. This fiery power makes Ifrits feel like they can burn through anything: your plans, your home, or even your soul. Ifrits are also feared because they can twist your wishes. In old stories, they might offer you riches or power, but there's always a catch. For example, in 1001 Nights, a man gets wealth from an Ifrit but loses his family. King Solomon, a hero in Islam, could control Ifrits to build his temple, but that took God's help. Regular people who try to boss Ifrits around with magic usually end up in trouble. In an old Turkish story, an Ifrit pretending to be a wise man tricks a prince into a cursed desert, trapping him forever. This makes Ifrits dangerous because you might think you're in control, but they're really playing you. In Islamic beliefs, the Ifrit sparks heated debates. Some scholars, like the 8th century Imam Bukhari, argue Ifrit is just a word for any rebellious person or jinn, not a monstrous creature with horns and flames. But for most Muslims, Ifrits are very real, dwelling in the unseen world of Al-Ghaib, a mysterious realm where angels, jinn, and divine secrets swirl like smoke in the desert night. Believing in Ifrits is more than superstitions, part of trusting God's vast plan, where every spirit has a purpose, even the scary ones. People across the Muslim world blame Ifrits for troubles like sudden sickness, crops failing, or strange behavior, like a child shouting words they shouldn't know. To fight them, families turn to prayers from the Qur'an, such as Surah al-Jinn, which calls on God's protection, or wear charms etched with holy words like Ayat al-Kursi. In Old Cairo, during the 13th century, panicked crowds blamed Ifrits for mysterious fires that devoured markets. So imams led city-wide recitations of sacred verses, their voices rising over crackling flames to drive the spirits away. Even today, in places like Yemen's mountain villages or bustling markets in Pakistan, people perform these rituals when life goes wrong, lighting incense, chanting prayers, or hanging talismans to keep Ifrits at bay. Their fear is alive in 2025 as it was centuries ago. Yet Ifrits aren't always the villains of these tales. Some stories paint them as helpers or even faithful servants of God. In the Qur'an, the Ifrit who offered to fetch the Queen of Sheba's throne for Solomon wasn't evil, just not the wisest choice compared to a scholar of scripture. Surah An-Naml 27:39. In Yemeni folklore, Ifrits who follow Islam might appear as harmless snakes slithering through homes, and people are taught to leave them alone unless they stir up trouble. In medieval Spain, under Muslim rule, poets like Ibn Quzman wrote of Ifrits as symbols of burning love, their fiery nature reflecting the passion of a lover's heart, not destruction. This mix of good and bad makes Ifrits far scarier than simple monsters. Like us, they choose between right and wrong, faith and rebellion, their free will a mirror of our own struggles. In a 10th century Persian tale, an Ifrit guides a lost shepherd to safety but later tempts him with gold, leaving him to decide his fate. This unpredictability, helping one moment, harming the next, keeps people on edge, wondering what an Ifrit might do if it crosses their path. The Ifrit's fear has twisted and burned through time, its legends shifting like smoke in the desert wind. 1,000 years ago, it was a chilling reality in the Muslim world, a fiery spirit fought with fervent prayers and sacred rituals. In 10th century Basra, traders clutched Quranic charms, fearing Ifrits would spark fires in their stalls, while desert nomads blamed them for sandstorms that swallowed whole caravans. By the 13th century, Muslim scholars like the Sufi poet Rumi wove Ifrits into tales of divine trials, their flames symbolizing the tests God sends to purify the soul. In the Ottoman era, Ifrits haunted village lore as terrifying spirits lurking in abandoned wells, yet glittered in courtly poems as emblems of untamed passion, their fire dancing in lines of verse. When Europeans discovered Ifrits in the 1800s, they softened their terror, turning them into magical genies in tales like Aladdin, where a lamp-bound spirit grants wishes with a grin. But in Muslim communities, the Ifrit's menace held firm. In 1920s Egypt, villagers near the pyramids whispered of Ifrits causing eerie lights and strange noises, their fear as sharp as ever. Across the 20th century, from Moroccan hamlets to Syrian towns, Ifrits were blamed for unexplained misfortunes, lost livestock, sudden fevers, or homes struck by lightning. Today, in 2025, the Ifrit leaps from ancient lore into modern stories, its spark undimmed. In Neil Gaiman's American Gods, an Ifrit disguises itself as a taxi driver in New York, weaving deception with a sly smile, echoing its ancient trickery. In video games like Final Fantasy, Ifrit roars as a towering fire beast, summoning infernos that thrill players worldwide. In horror films like Wishmaster or Under the Shadow, Ifrits twist wishes into nightmares or stalk war-torn homes, their shadowy forms reviving old fears of betrayal and chaos. From medieval campfires to streaming screens, the Ifrit endures, its fiery gaze still piercing our deepest anxieties about the unseen and the uncontrollable. What does it mean to fear a creature that kneels to God yet dares to defy? The Ifrit terrifies because it dances on the edge of two worlds, a spirit of fire and smoke, unbound by human chains yet tethered to divine law. In the Muslim world, its fear comes not just from its power to burn or deceive, but from what it reveals about the vast unknown. From a fleeting mention in the Qur'an to ancient tales of fiery giants toppling caravans, the Ifrit embodies the tug-of-war between faith and doubt, control and chaos. Its flames flicker in the crumbled stones of desert ruins, howl in the restless winds of the Sahara, and pulse in the hearts of those who sense a greater force beyond the veil of sight. That 9th century Baghdad scribe, weaving his tale of the merchant swallowed by sand, understood this truth. The Ifrit is no mere monster, it's a mirror, reflecting our awe at God's creation and our dread of what lies hidden in the shadows. The Ifrit's grip on our fears endures because it speaks to worries we all share, being tricked by false promises, losing grip on our lives, or facing forces we can't comprehend. 1,000 years ago, it was the shadow lurking in a storyteller's pause, chilling listeners by torchlight. In 13th century Cairo, it was blamed for fires that devoured homes, driving families to chant prayers under smoke-filled skies. In 18th century Morocco, it was the spirit behind fevers that baffled healers, banished only by sacred verses. What does the Ifrit whisper to you? Is it the chill of things unseen, the pull of dreams too big, or the spark of defiance in your own heart? We challenge you to face that fiery mirror, to confront the shadows the Ifrit casts in your world, and to ponder where the boundary between myth and truth truly burns.